So the show is actually, as you know, going to be live. I get about 6 or 7 rebroadcasts for this show,
Very good.
and it's constantly going up because the show is actually doing so well, and it's a very important topic, is what we're talking about here. And it'll go out to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, uh, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and
Hi.
all around the world. Hi, Kensi. Are you
Can you
there?
guys hear me and see me very well?
Yes, yes. Welcome to the show. Well,
Thank
not to the
you.
show yet. We're in the pre-show yet, so you're on
Oh,
time.
good. Awesome.
Well, and I just wanted to get a sound level check with you. Do me a favor and just count back from 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. And how are you connecting? Is it on a laptop, cell phone?
On a laptop, and I'm using my AirPods. It's better on a cell phone, I can do that. I have an Apple.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was just making sure that what we were connecting on. You're on a laptop, and you said you're using AirPods with the laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's sounded okay. It was kind of going in and out of volume a little bit, but maybe it's just
Let me try
connected.
with my phone, because sometimes it works better on the phone, I found. Hold on 1 moment. Just tell me which one you prefer. 1 second.
Sure.
I'm going to jump in here.
Go.
For sound,
Oh, yep. I got you now. Go ahead and count back from 5 one time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Yeah. It does sound better with the phone.
Okay, I'm
Perfect.
gonna relocate then in that case. Let me just unless this is fine for you guys, I could just put my phone here.
Okay.
Let me see.
All right,
Oh,
Magnus.
no.
All right, we'll
Hold
get
on. Let me
started here in
just
about
find a
15 seconds.
Okay, sounds good.
okay.
All right, everybody have a great show. I'm going to send the feed your way.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Welcome to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. Whether you feel that you don't have enough money to start investing or are under the preconceived notion that investing is only for the wealthy, Magnus and his expert guests are here to help you. Now here is your host, Magnus Carter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Magnus Carter. This is the Making More Money for You show on Voice America Business Channel. This show is definitely going to be a first for me, because not only do I have one prestigious guest, but I have 2 prestigious guests today. And we're going to talk a lot about a whole bunch of different topics. As I was reading through the guest list and the bios and whatnot, it's like I might actually need maybe another show on this to get everything fit into this. But we're gonna do as much as we can. We're gonna come through with some great content. Here I'm gonna not waste any more time with this, but the introductions. I have Kensi Gibson, and I have Dame Clarissa Brut. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. As you know, if you've seen and you've seen the show and whatnot, this show is all about making money for the listeners of the show, especially in ways that we don't really think about. More or less, you overlook things that it's like, oh, okay, well, of course I can make money doing that, but I don't want to. But there's actually a lot of fortitude in making those decisions that think outside of the box. And you ladies are excellent examples for that. And if Clarissa, if you can go first and introduce yourself, And then we'll get to Kensi and we'll get to you, Kensi, as introductions. So, and then we'll go from there. This is just a great forum that we can discuss everything about making money, your professional and some of your personal things that got you to where you're at.
Yeah, my name is Clarissa Brut. I'm the founder of In the Limelight Media, which consists of television, podcast, and a digital magazine. I've got a channel on network that has different people have shows on the channel. So we form people and teach them how to be show hosts, or I create shows, find a show host, and then funnel through, especially authors and book authors, giving them a place to peddle their wares, and so that has been really successful place for us, because I kind of had to go after a niche market, if you will. There are very, very few places that authors really can go to speak unless it's a podcast, and they have to, go through the whole. Obviously, they have to make it a nice bio about themselves, about the book, 1 pages, and then go out and actually find the podcast. So it's a bit of a process, but we find some really, really great people to interview, and then I'm also the author of the Self-Esteem Regime, which is a book
wow.
that which is the Plury Award winning book. It's also an international bestseller, and it is right there. I'm proud to say that it's in Barnes and Noble, Kindle, and Amazon, and Audible as well. And it's been in Barnes and Noble for the last year and a half. So kind of see the book on the shelves right next to Brene Brown, Dr. Deepak Chopra, and Dr. Joe Dispenza, because my last name begins with a B, has been really one of the crowning moments in my life. So yeah, and now I'm just getting ready to create some phenomenal retreats for women. So it's just all about, it's all about women and men too, because, self-esteem does not discriminate, Magnus, as you know, and and just, kind of doing the right thing by being the right kind of, people. There you go.
Okay, awesome. Well, there's so much in there that we can discuss, and we're going to definitely have some dialogue about everything that you talked about, Clarissa. Kensi, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself as well?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Kensi Gibson. I'm the CEO and founder of Club Debut, which is a platform for creators where we essentially help them to create better businesses, in short. Our platform really consists of all the different infrastructure support systems to basically, really help to support entrepreneurs as they launch and grow their businesses. So what does that mean specifically? So we have a manufacturing center where we basically manufacture for brands and for both emerging and emerged entrepreneurs, but we really focus, a big emphasis on emerging brands, and we really focus on artists and creators who are creating, fashion business as a way to supplement income by virtue of just being able to share all the talents and productize that. We also provide the technology, the warehousing, shipping and logistics, content production labs, and all the business infrastructure resources that an entrepreneur may need, so they can tap into one ecosystem and essentially have all the things that they need in one space, so they don't have to bump around to find the resources as they're trying to do different things, which eventually removes a lot of the friction that prevents entrepreneurs or really becomes very expensive for entrepreneurs as they're either establishing or growing their businesses. So that's primarily where I am centered right now. Beyond that, I'm a business consultant. I also do a lot of public speaking, usually around entrepreneurship, financial literacy, meaning those areas. Really interested in some of the workshops that Clarissa has just mentioned, because as we're going through, a lot of our clients, we're noticing that that's something in the wellness space, especially. We have a number of clients in that space, and that's something that's come up a lot in terms of recommending where to get the best help and the retreats that are appropriate. And so that's very interesting conversation, looking forward to having. But, as it comes to, with Club Debut and me, one of the things that we are also really, really, really pushing forward is just really enabling entrepreneurs who may never have done this before to really start thinking about how technology and the future of technology really impacts their businesses. And so, one of the things that we are emphasizing is just technology education, and don't like get left behind because you're too afraid of the tools that are emerging, because it's never going to go backwards. We're just going to
No.
continue rolling. And so we just need to really get into that. I'm actually about to be in Vegas tomorrow, presenting on a panel, on a keynote actually, at a conference
Okay.
on Web3 and the creator economy. And so that's like one of the cornerstones of what we're essentially pushing to get creators awareness and education on in the next coming months. So I'll leave it there, and we can jump around as
Oh,
you want to.
all right. Yeah. I love having a free, open dialogue with my guests. As I found out that we create the best content by being actual natural with each other. And with both of you on the show, and also myself as an entrepreneur, is Clarissa, your book about, self-esteem and whatnot. Now, how has we can definitely we'll dive into this with both of you, is how did your self-esteem start out when you started your journey as being a professional business person to where it is right now?
Oh my goodness, that's quite the question, isn't it? How did it start out? It started out where, I guess it could have been a little wobbly, as a teenager. And as I moved on, my greatest dream back then was to be a model. And, let's see, that happened. And so that was way back in the 80s. But and then, so that happened, but it was a long moment before I realized that maybe I really could do it, because I just didn't believe. I didn't think that I was ever going to be good enough. So I think that's always, like, it's just a thread, if you will. I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be enough. Who am I? Who could I ever be? That sort of thing. I had, a mom that never thought that she was good enough, especially in pictures. She did never want her picture taken. My grandmother, lovely woman, who decided she was going to take diet pills one day, choke on them, perforate her esophagus, and wind up 6 weeks in the hospital. I modeled with some of the most beautiful women in the world, and they always, not all of them, but there were some instances where it was clear that, they were not happy with themselves. I've seen too many women not perceive themselves in their greatest power, and definitely in toxic relationships. And by the way, self-esteem doesn't discriminate, Magnus. So this is for guys as well.
Okay.
That's why the cover of my book is blue, because when I first got it back from the publishers in New York City, it was orange, pink, and yellow. And I asked one change, please. I know I'm not supposed to do this, but could I just please have one change? Can you make it blue? Because I think it's a more serene color, and I'd like for men to be able to pick the book up, which they have. And they've loved it, which is really great. So yeah, I mean, the idea of back in the day, just not believing that I could, and then just forging through and powering through the fear, if you will, and taking the risks that I needed to take. I was in New York City by the time I was 19. I was in Paris by the time I was 21, and I stayed in New York for 30 years. So look, I've made every mistake in the book, but every one of them is mine, and I own them. And the really cool part about all of that is every mistake we make is, has brought us to the people that we are today. You've got to learn on your own. So, you can't, nobody else is going to do that work for you. So the most important part, I think the clarion call for all, is please continue to work on your personal development. A lot of people are really into that. They already know about Clarissa, we know, and other people have never heard the phrase before. Back in my day, it was called self-help. And a lot of people do self-help, which means they buy the book, put it on a shelf, and never read it. Well, we don't want that either. We want you to actually buy the book and do the work. So, the only bookstore now, apart from Amazon, is Barnes & Noble. And I am thrilled to say my book is in Barnes & Noble, and has been for a year and a half. Did I say this already? Right next to Brene Brown, Dr. Deepak Chopra, and Dr. Joe Dispenza. So for me, again, a crowning moment. I'm sorry, if I already said that, I don't know if I or not. Did I already say that?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay,
It's
sorry.
good,
Because it's like I can't remember sometimes, if I've said it or not. But that's what happens when you're my age. But anyway, it's all good, and the messaging here is, just I think wanting to be a better person tomorrow than we are today. And as that pertains to business, it's really about emotional intelligence, and it's also about the imposter syndrome.
Gotcha.
But we deal a lot with that as well, talking people a little bit off the ledge, and really, again, just forging through the feelings that people say, well, just fake it until you make it. how about let's just make it? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Let's just make it, because, there's nothing in you, about you, around you, or near you that is not giving you the opportunity to make it, except you. So, don't you have to fake anything. Just, be really, really good at what you do, love what you do, have a passion for what you do. And then the rest comes pretty easily.
Oh, awesome. That's a phenomenal answer. And that's every one of us. I can definitely attest to being that part and still in the grinding aspect of it. Cassie, what about yours? How about you? How did you change, and how did you realize by going through your journey as Clarissa did, realize that your self-esteem has changed throughout your process, if you are to where you are right now?
It's very interesting. I think I don't know how to. So I grew up in Jamaica, and when I came to the US, like I didn't really have necessarily the same understanding of things, I guess, just because of my personal upbringing. My mom was a fashion entrepreneur, and so I grew up in that business. Since I was 9, I started traveling with her. So I've been kind of with this global mindset as a kid, and then landed in America, in South Hadley, Massachusetts, of all places, because I was obsessed with Mount Holyoke, and that's the school I went to. It was just quite a different experience. I think that in a lot of ways, my upbringing really did prepare me to have a really good self-esteem. I was never a shy person or the person who ever thought I couldn't achieve. In fact, everybody else that I knew applied for like a million schools when they're applying for college. I wanted to go to one school, and that's a school, and that's what I applied for. And I didn't
Okay.
know that that was so abnormal coming in. And I mean, I'm using that to just illustrate kind of, I think my upbringing prepared me to be a different person. And then coming to the US with all the challenges of being a Black woman, a person who then, went into financial services. I was in investment banking arena for a good 10 years at the highest level, being Black, being woman, being all the minorities, all the, the things that are not really expected. For me, it really didn't affect me in terms of self-esteem. In fact, I had to like tone down my self-esteem, I felt like, because
Oh,
I
wow.
was very confident. I was always very confident and but not like in a very like
No.
showy way. It was just more that I really, really believe that if I want something and I'm gonna work towards it, which is what I do, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to get it. And so I usually just go after the things I want. I never like do like 50 million backups like everybody else. I'm like, this is what I want. I'm going to go for that. I want to
Yeah.
go to Goldman Sachs after school. I'm going to do Goldman Sachs because that was the best investment bank at the time. And
Yeah.
when I was done with that, I wanted to have a global experience. And, I picked, and then all my choices, even when I went to business school, like, I went to Wharton for business school. And it was just like my choices have always just really stacked up. And I think a lot of it is not just the self-esteem. Obviously, you have to work hard and you have to have aptitude and talent
Mhm.
and all of that. But I think but you're asking me about my personal journey.
Yeah.
Fundamental belief in myself has never been my issue. It was just more about really understanding what it is as I want, because I felt like there were so
Okay.
many pathways to achieving my goals, and I was very unclear. That's where I got a little bit unclear in terms of, how would I actually, explore my journey? What would be my own trajectory? And the people that I saw ahead of me, I didn't really necessarily have a lot of role models who looked like me doing the things that I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And so that was more of a challenge. So more than self-esteem, it was more just like, where is my reflection in society for the big goals and the lofty vision that I have for myself? And how do I kind of create my own path, given that there's no path there for me that I can obviously see from the perspective of, the things that I want and where I'm going. And so that was more it for me. And that took me on its own journey, probably the same journey or similar to other people who are finding themselves
Yeah.
from a self-esteem perspective. My journey of like figuring out how I would express my talent, how I would express my potential, how I go after my goals, how would I create the career when I don't fit in a box? Like, it's just, those are my challenges. And, I've definitely found ways to deal with them and still continue to not compromise on my belief in what I want to achieve and accomplish and the legacy I want to leave behind.
Okay. Wow. Now, both of you brought up excellent points here that I want to ask about. It's all about confidence. As a
Mhm.
model, you have to have the confidence to do what you're doing to an extent that you got to be the person that they want you to be in the picture, and you got to portray that. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Kezi, confidence on your side is you were overconfident. Now, the both of you here, now have both of you had to adjust your confidence level to get further ahead in your journey than what you thought you had or that you portrayed to be?
I mean, I can jump in real quick. I think that, like I mentioned, like confidence is something that I think is really personal for each person.
Right.
And I think it comes out like when people think of confidence and self-esteem, I think people often go to, oh, it's about my looks, my
Mhm.
parents, it's about how much money I have, my social class, it's about the material possessions, it's about, how I think this person thinks of me.
Right.
Um, and I think so much of confidence in my professional realm, especially as I deal with artists and creators a lot, who have other challenges beyond just like how I look, because sometimes the accepted way or the standards, most artists are outside of that anyways, and that's what makes them great and makes them successful. So their challenges are more different. It's more the
Mhm.
confidence to believe in your potential. It's a different kind of confidence. It's less
Okay.
about self-esteem and less about like how do I look and how do I fit in here or there. It's about, do I believe that I can do this, and do I believe that I can actually like
Right.
stick it out? Do I believe that I can stick around for the success? Because as an entrepreneur, success doesn't often come immediately.
No.
And when you're a
Right.
creator, it sometimes takes a little bit longer. Sometimes it's just a matter of, did you encounter the right first, second, or third opportunity? And sometimes you don't encounter those until opportunity 777, and
Mhm.
so do you have the confidence as things are going and not going your way to
Right.
understand that it's not about the wins or losses. It's about the fact that this is what you were meant to be doing, and your plan. You have a really specific plan that is a good plan that once if you stick to it and just continue chopping with it, execute it. It is gonna be. It's gonna make your success almost a foregone conclusion. But you have to be able to stick it out. And I
Yeah.
think that's a different layer of confidence than what people usually think from the perspective of self-esteem and all of that, because I think that can be worked on. And I think Clarissa, you're probably going to address this, but a lot of the work on self, I think that is like one dimension of confidence. But then there's the other part about the professional realm, which sometimes is a little bit more difficult from the
Absolutely.
perspective of what
Yeah.
you have to do with it.
Absolutely, because self-esteem goes really broad and really deep. It's so
Mhm.
many different things to so many different people, and not everybody comes from happy home, and not everybody comes
Right.
from support and assistance. A lot of people are out there, again, you can choose your friends, but not your family, kind of thing. So,
Yep.
not everyone has such a happy childhood from which to, spring forward. So there's a lot of things that we bring forward with us as we leave
Mhm.
the tribal home, if you will.
Right.
And so that's really important. I think one of the most important things is the blueprint of your value system. So when you can really decide what it is that your value system is, for example, I talk about taking the high road, which is honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. If we can bring those things to the table, I would like to think that I do. Again, I'm imperfect as a human being, but I would like to bring those things to the table when I can, no matter where I am. I bring that for myself, and I bring it to all of my relationships. It's not always the most comfortable place to be, because I have to make, snap decisions, or, be very
Mhm.
careful about toxicity that might be in any
Mhm.
relationship around me. But those are definitely things that I like to remind people about, as I do boundaries as well. We have to be continually creating boundaries, no matter, and I love the way that you're really clear and sharp about, where you wanted to go and how you were going to get there. And that's exactly what I ask, everybody to do in the book when we're
Mhm.
doing the work. The first, chapter for me in my book is release. okay, just get rid of all the gunk. And then the second chapter is rebuild. And then there are, we continue to build as we go through the 12 chapters. But there is definitely, I call it a regime, because the regime is an organized way of doing things. We start at the beginning, we don't end at the end, because again, you never take a self-esteem test and, or a self-confidence test or a self-improvement test and get 100, you're good for life, right? Life is going to trigger you. It's going to happen. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but things are going to happen in your life where, whereby they could be a little destabilizing. Look at the times we're in and we've just come out of. Many people have been destabilized. This Dove self-esteem project came out last month, because last month was Women's Month, and they came out with a phenomenal thing for our kids that are really suffering right now. They came out with a thing called hashtag no filter. There's this new filter going around TikTok and Instagram, and it's called the glamour filter. And it's making girls prettier than what they normally would be. It just enhances things in a way that was really teaching our 12, 13, 14-year-old girls to have these high expectations of themselves, but it's not living in reality. So Dove did this amazing, they said hashtag turn your back. So turn your back on the filter, hashtag no filters, and hashtag, I forget what else, but this is a grand movement for our kids who, according to the CDC, at 5% of our kids, and I say kids, I'm saying high school, middle school, high school, and college age, are really going through it right now. And they're going through it with depression. They're going through it with anxiety. They're going through it with suicide, thoughts of suicide, and committing suicide. I know today we say unaliving ourselves, but I never know who the end audience is going to be, but I think we get the message. These are alarming numbers. And so especially with our kids are social media and what it's teaching them to be, not only from a bullying standpoint, but from absolutely the perception of what they believe reality is and what life really is going to be, can be it's going to be like jumping off a cliff when they graduate and go out into the real world. It can be a pretty scary place. So I really think that, again, clarion call, make sure that we are constantly working on ourselves through personal development. It's a $1 billion industry now. And, they got Amazon and we've got Barnes and Noble that have rows and rows of books that can really be helpful.
Plus, I have guests on before. I know we only have a couple minutes till break, but one thing I want to iterate with both of you are saying is people, especially the younger preteens, teens, and young adults. We'll go from preteens to adults. The patience level in them have gone dramatically down, and they're not actually seeing the compounding effect, because they constantly change things instead of constantly adding on to something. They'll add on to a couple days. They'll say, "Oh, okay, 2 weeks, 3 weeks," and it's not. I believe it was someone that said a habit is formed after 60 days of continuous use of doing something, and they're not hitting that part. And what we're seeing is, from what I've been seeing, especially with my books and some of the radio shows and people I talk to, is they get to 15th, 16th day. It's like they see very little success or advancement, if they will, and then they'll stop and do something else.
Well, it's life in a snippet, isn't it?
Exactly.
So quickly. I mean, TikTok, Instagram, you just keep it. And even I guess with the dating apps, it's been a while for me, but dating apps, flip right, flip left, or swipe right, swipe left. Everything is very quick for these kids. And I, that's not going to go away anytime soon.
No, and it's constantly actually getting worse as technology is getting faster, because we as humans are getting more impatient, even though something takes 10 seconds. I remember doing networking way before that. The average person would wait for a website to load was 30 seconds.
Oh, that's a lot.
Back then, yes.
a
Now
long
it's
time.
less. Now it's about 3 seconds. So you can see how far we've
Guilty.
Oh, I'm guilty of it as well. If it doesn't work in the first 10 seconds, I reboot. I do a whole bunch of other stuff to get it to try to make it work, or the old faithful sledgehammer is always in the corner. So honestly, ladies, I hate to say it, but that's the first half of the show already. We've covered, your both of your amazing journeys to where you are as business people, professionally and personally. We talked about the importance of confidence. We've also talked about, the realm of self-worth and all of this. And when we come back from the show, we're going to intertwine all of this on how it actually helps people on a positive way, can be used to help them make money and better choices in the future. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. Actually, thank you for listening right now. Those who are tuning in, do not go anywhere. The second half is going to be jam-packed with a lot of stuff, especially from the first half of the show. So hang tight. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
All right, great job. We're all clear. Back in a couple minutes.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Phenomenal, ladies. Thank you very much. Is there anything I want to actually tie this, how all of this is actually going to be into media presence and how we present ourselves both professionally and personally on media platforms that you are both well aware of. Is that good with you? Anything else that you want to focus on the second half?
Ask away.
Mm-hmm. Whatever your heart desires.
Okay. That is.
How long till the break ends?
Oh, Matt, how long till our break's over?
We've got just about a minute, maybe a little less.
Okay. I won't go grab a tea.
I know, I want to too.
It's like, oh, that's the one thing I forgot.
I
I'm
drink matcha
sneaking,
latte
I'm like,
all day
oh.
long. So. Matcha latte, and I left it in the kitchen, damn it.
Yeah, so look at him now, he's like showing off.
It's only
Good
water, it's
job,
not tea.
Magnus.
It's only water. There's no lemon in it, it's just plain water. No, I've learned the hard way that I did the same thing quite a few times, and there's a lot of talking. It's like, I just want to grab a drink. I want to take my mic with me, and they might hear a bunch of different, colorful words if I did do that.
All right, 10 seconds.
Oh, geez, already back.
Network.
You're listening to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. If you have any questions for Magnus or his guests, join us on the show at 866-472-5789. That's 866-472-5789. Now back to the show. Here is Magnus Carter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning into the show, welcome to the show. This show is a first type of show that I've done ever with 2 guests on here. And I'm not going to lie, this show is actually very amazing. I have amazing guests with me. I have Dame Clarissa Brut, and I also have Club Debut owner and founder, Kensi Gibson. Welcome back, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before the show, we took our break. We were talking about self-esteem, definitely self-esteem. I know, Clarissa, you are definitely an author, and the self-esteem regime is your newest book out. And one major thing that I want to talk about on this, everybody's involved with it. Everybody that I have talked to, or I'm in business with, or I associate with or network with, is on a social platform. You ladies both own social platforms. This was not a coincidence. I didn't plan this. This is just how the show happened, honestly. So when someone is actually looking to promote their businesses, their business, their wares, their whatever they're trying to peddle, how important is having the confidence, as we talked about before, self-confidence. Now we're going to switch it over a little bit to business confidence, that the person peddling their wares has confidence in what they're selling.
I'm ready to go. Kensi, do you want to go first?
It's fine. You can go ahead.
Well, first of all, I think the most important thing to remember is that, promoting your business should always be forefront. And a lot of times it's the first thing that takes a hit when a business goes through any difficulty financially at all, whether it's a recession or, you know, nationally, globally, or just in your own business. I mean, you know, people say, you know, we got to back off of promotion, we got to back off of publicity, we got to back off of advertising, we got to back off of all of that. And that's the last thing you want to do. I mean, so reallocate if you have to. Maybe you have to back off a little bit, but don't cut it out altogether, because, you know, people need to understand and be reminded constantly that you are still in business. That's absolutely number one. Number two, you want to be, you know, absolutely sure that you're being, you know, living in brand continuity, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your voice is. How you want to be heard is, you know, on the first post you ever make, it's probably how same way you want to be heard on every post you want to make. Same colors, same fonts, and same what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say tenure, but I don't think that's the right word. You know, you want to be brand consistent straight across the board. So for the
Authentic?
example of, well, that too,
Okay.
absolutely authentic. You definitely want to make sure that as soon as somebody sees a post that's by you, apart from, you know, a name being, they see it and they know it's you. That could be, you know, again, for colors, for example, when you see, I'll go to my social, I have recreated this as the post. So the outside, and I'm showing my cover of my book right now, the outside of the book was recreated in all of its triangles, and on the inside, I have an inspirational quote every day. So you know that when you see that, there's the self-esteem regime. That's Clarissa. Within the Limelight Media, pretty much the same. We have a logo constantly being there. So you know that when you see that, whether my picture is on that post or not, it's Clarissa. So, or it's in the Limelight with Clarissa. So making sure that you are being brand, you know, consistent is really, really important. And knowing that, you know, whatever you're doing, I'm going to assume you're pretty passionate doing it, and that the message you're messaging is pretty clear about what it is about your business that people must know, and how it is you truly can help them. And there is the authentic part, you know, how you can authentically truly help them. That's what I've got for now. Kensi, how about you?
I think that's really, really important. You just went through literally all the technical parts, and these are parts of what I present to my entrepreneurs as I, you know, offer consultations. When it comes to brand identity, it's so important to have that. And you went through all some of the key elements. It's the colors, it's the messaging, it's the voice, it's the consistency, it's all of those things. But something I overlay all of that with in my kind of regime, if you will, is basically the connection that you make with the audience. You want to make sure that you're first understanding that people are the ones who are going to then turn in your product into profits. And so you have to engage with people. You have to find the ways to, whether through storytelling or, you know, the way you present. Even you can't just sell all the time. That works in some instances and for a lot of cases, but the connection that you make with the audience. I've grown audiences from my clients from nothing to, you know, tens of thousands of followers. And, you know, there's some clients who have a lot more followers than others. And when you have a drop here with a smaller number of followers, we're sold out immediately, while you have massive followers and it's not the same kind of response. And the reason is simply what I see as a difference. It's just the way that, you know, that connection was made with the audience. So there's one audience where everybody wants to, there's somebody who said this, I don't know who said it, but everybody will buy and everybody wants to buy something, but not everybody wants to be sold to. So in the moment, maybe I'm seeing that, like right now I'm talking to you guys and I'm, you know, really talking them with this pen, and I have this pen and I'm talking, you know, like I'm really giving all the points, you know, this pen that I got from St. Petersburg when I was there the last time. It's in this really cool gift shop, blah, blah, blah. Like I just talked about the product that I'm using, but it's not the focus of what I'm doing. Or I take a bag and I'm like, you know, I'm packing up because we're about to end the call. And then it's like, oh, I love this case because it keeps me so organized. It's by this brand called whatever, or the, you know, but it's just make sure you find ways, especially in lives and in stories and in your TikTok videos, as you're doing those things, which have become more kind of the traditional ways now to promote. Make sure that you're really talking to people, because people want to be spoken to and reach that way. And then you can overlay all the other stuff.
And reminding also, as a reminder, and we've heard this a million times, a confused mind does not buy, right? So being
Right.
really clear about who you are, who is your brand, what you're about, who you're helping. Like we've said, I don't want to be redundant, but again, being really, really clear in
Mhm.
all our posts. The post that I make with the outline and the post of the book, each one of those is just a little gift for the day. It's a little give you something. It doesn't say go buy my book. It just says, go out and have a fabulous day, or whatever the quote says. It's just as a reminder, that something nice is coming out. It's not about a sale, but it is about, I really, really do want you to have a really nice day, or whatever the quote may be.
Yeah.
And some of these are just reminders. And I'm a really huge believer also, and this is a little off course, but it's going to land where it's supposed to land. And so if you're reading it, there might be something in that message or that quote for you that day. And so I'm just a really big believer in that as well. So I love putting those kind of quotes out. But yeah, everything we've said, I think, is the answer to Magnus's question.
Oh yes, I do the same thing as well. Of what you ladies are talking about, the brand, the making more money for you is, that's the brand, and I'm promoting that, and that's exactly what these shows are to do. That's why the books came about. I came about a little bit about my story here, and we'll get back to this fantastic conversation. Is I was a traveling network engineer, but everywhere that I traveled, everybody was still having the same conversations, and it was always about money. No matter where a person was, whether it was a restaurant, going somewhere, getting out of the car, going into the car, restrooms, whatever, there was always talk about money and how they can never have enough of it, or they don't know where it's going.
Mhm.
That's what sparked me when I actually, in a very lucid state of mind, bought the course and decided to write about it. And when my instructor's like, my prof was actually like, "Well, what do you want to write about?" I'm like, boom, came to me right away. It's like, this is what I need to write about. But my take on everything, I know we have Dave Ramsey. I'm in a very very high top and niche with tons of experience. Their experience is like all like high level. My What I'm doing with the books and the whole brand is about is breaking down the information that anybody can use it, and that they can take that information, use it to whatever they want. It's like, I'm not going to tell you go invest in the S&P 500 or whatever it is. So as what you're saying, both of you are saying, is absolutely, I completely agree with you 5,000%. Is I know my audience and what they're actually asking for. I'm giving it to them. Now it's up to them to take it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I think you want to check in too, I with your analytics, and just, double check and make sure that it is landing the way it's supposed to
Oh, yeah.
land. And, course correct if it isn't. It might be just a really, really simple tweet. Maybe there's just too much stuff in one post. Maybe it wasn't,
Right.
kind of clear what you were trying to get across. And so I just think that, checking in on your analytics is another really, really important thing to do. Especially with, obviously with social media, and certainly with your, the hits on the website.
Yeah, I want to underscore that point.
Sure.
The data part is so important, because you can spend, especially when you're doing paid advertisement. A lot of people do a lot of the paid advertising. They're spending thousands of dollars, and they're not necessarily understanding why. Maybe something happened and it hit good one time. They
Right.
don't really understand why this time it worked and why it didn't work here. It's all just arbitrary, and they're
Yes.
just throwing more money at the campaigns and thinking
Mhm.
that that's a solve. And because the way the algorithms are set up, like if you throw a certain amount of money, you're automatically going to get certain results, but you could be optimizing those results substantially if you were paying attention to the data. And so I cannot stress, I just want to underscore that with a big yellow highlighter. That's something just really
Absolutely.
important to pay attention to. I cannot stress that enough
And I
in
would
terms
take
of
it a little,
optimizing capital.
Let's
I
take
would
that a
take it
little
a step
further.
I would take that a step further, and that, yeah, and you're right, that is absolutely so true. But sometimes I find, even with the data, it's like, okay, well, that one did well, but gee, what was really the difference? Like maybe it's not really clear to me. So maybe just having, like a focus group, like, everyone, like I have a mastermind
Absolutely.
as well, and
Same
we
here.
things like that, but just like a little focus group where we can all kind of like double check each other's work and say, well, I think it was that, or I would change this or whatever. I do this frequently. And I find that, there are little tweaks that can be made that maybe because we're, we can't see the forest for the trees, or we're so in the thick of it. It's not, it's not like a bright shining, light, blinking light for us, but others can see it. So maybe just a little bit of focus group if we have the time to do that.
Now, I have a question for you since we're on the data, and I want to ask a step further into this is how often do you need to analyze the data? Because the algorithms can change at any moment and nobody knows when they change.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think one can only do the best that they can do. You know what I mean? And just again, the learning curve, I have found personally, the learning curve is never ending. There's something constantly changing. I don't know if Kensi has something better to add to that.
It's really interesting because I'm a big proponent of Web3, and I cannot wait until that's the language in the internet that we're in, like in general for all times. So because where we are right now, the platforms control everything, right?
Yes, they do.
And so if you think about it, you create the content, you give it for free, you then build an audience, you spend all this money in advertising, you invest just to get the audience to come to the platform, for them to then tell you how they're going to show and when they're going to show your audience that you spend so much money, time, effort, energy to build the content that you want to show to them. And now when you're ready to sell a project, by the way, if you want to show this product, you have to do these 5 things. And it's not necessarily like straightforward. And that changes, by the way, in 2 weeks, because now we're on a different page. So the whole like experience of the platform approach, which is where we're in right now in Web2, it's very, I'm just so happy that there is a Web3, and I'm really pushing everybody to really continue to do what they're doing, but be focused on community and building community that's really attached to you and your product and whatever it is that you are offering to the marketplace in a way that's not arbitrary. Because what's going to happen in Web3 is that community is going to be your power, right? And so I'm very big on just like really focusing on that part, but I cannot wait for the moment in time when it's already happening slowly, but obviously we're in the beginning stages of it. I just cannot wait for the moment when it's just all like you're generating the content, you're basically investing in building the community, and then you get to make the profits in the way you desire, versus an algorithm disrupting kind of or directing how you're actually doing that. So that's coming, and I'm really enthusiastic and very excited for that point, because I think it's going to change the game for creators. It's going to change the game for entrepreneurs. It's going to change the power that individual entrepreneurs have when it relates to kind of interaction with brands and other partnerships, collaborations, all of that. It's really going to put a light on, people at the center of everything. And that's really awesome.
I think we also have to talk about the importance of AI and ChatGPT and how important that's going to be moving forward, especially in content creation. So as scary as it is, and I don't know where we're going to be in 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years with it all. I mean, the case scenarios can be rather alarming. But for now, I mean, just getting started, there are so many different chat and AI platforms right now that can, that are even really starting to niche down into what you may need. In other words, if you're doing something on ChatGPT and you copy and paste it, well, where is the, how can you not say that's not stealing content because it wasn't your original? So there are now other chat GPTs that you can put in that, that copy and paste it, and it reworks it for you. So now it's a whole new sentence, paragraph, or article. So, being really sure about staying ahead of the game there, getting on to, right now I'm going through different, YouTube videos just to sort of, kind of understand it more, learn it more, understand what it wants from me and what we're going to get back from it. So I think that also bringing that to the fore is really important, because it's going to be the way we're all going to be working
absolutely
soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the fear of technology in the past, I think that has been a very big thing that has kept, the 1% in the 1% and everybody else to the side. Because if you think about it, first it was financial literacy. People just didn't understand the stock market and just the way finance works in general. And that kept, created this big disparity in society when it comes to allocation of capital in general, right? And then now we're in the space where, okay, fine, you can be as literal as you need to be in the realm of financial services. But now we're onto digital currency and digital everything, right? And so, what now is going to power the entrepreneurial platforms and engines? It's now just about emerging technologies. The base traditional technologies we've overused, and we've hit the capacity of what that can do for us as a society. Now we're moving on to the things that are emerging, that will be emerged in another 5 years. And the great thing about this, and the fact that we're having these conversations, even like through a platform like this, is that the awareness of what you need to be paying attention to, like, that's so important. Because at least even if you're just aware that, like, these are the things that are going to be driving the future, and that's brought home to you, so you internalize it as an entrepreneur, in a way that it's connected. So as you're thinking about everything, even if you don't know how to do it, even if you don't know what steps to take, that this is something that I need to have on my radar. And then the more you hear it, the more you internalize it, then maybe you'll take the step and lose that intimidation factor. Because I know that a lot of people are intimidated when it comes to emerging tech and how to use it. And I think the fact that, like I said, we're talking about it and it's something that's continually being talked about, I think it's really important, because that's just the way of the future.
Yeah, stay ahead of the learning curve.
Absolutely. And the learning
it comes
curve
at us like a fire hose, so stay ahead.
Yeah.
Now we all made excellent points on this. Now, what platform do you for someone that's just getting into business and entrepreneurship, what platform do you recommend, or out of all the platforms out there, would you like to see someone actually start out with, that actually would give like the best ROI for that person, and maybe even the easiest?
So for me, I can just answer that really quickly, because I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, and because I've seen so much, what Club Debut offers is the opportunity for you to help you figure it out.
Okay.
So it's not a one-stop shop. Like, some things may be really good for one client, but may not be good for another, or may not be as good. And so we generally never give kind of like one-stop shop, one size fit all advice. We really look at your business specifically. But I will say that, there's some things that you cannot get away from. A communication platform, i.e. a CRM, a way to be able to be in touch with your audience, get information, collect data, can't get away from that. In terms of ads, if you're running products, you can't get away from Google, right? You can't get away
Google's
from Facebook,
everywhere.
even though I definitely prioritize Google ads, because you see a better bang from your buck than Facebook and Instagram ads in general, from on my side. But if you're just starting out and maybe you don't have the money to hit the Google minimums to make it make sense, then maybe you want to do like the $5, $10 here for Facebook, for social media. So it's just depends on what kind of where you are in your business. And there are others, right? In terms of tools, like, there are a lot of free tools out there when it comes to AI, when it comes to just community building tools. I would say take advantage of as much as you possibly can that is risk-free in a sense. The problem with risk-free, though, is that your time is not free, and a lot of these things take a lot of time. And so figuring out kind of where you are and trying to really optimize for that, so you can understand, okay, the time you're putting in, there's going to be some sort of return on that investment is going to be important. And then really just understanding what you understand and what you don't understand, because I have a lot of people who try to learn things, and it's just, you can't learn everything. There's just too much. And there are too many tools to optimize and fuel your business. So if you're trying to learn every single one of them, I think it's going to put you at a disadvantage as an entrepreneur, especially if you don't have a good ecosystem behind you. So that's what Club Debut does. In terms of a platform perspective, like, we create that opportunity so you don't have to think about, you should understand it, certainly, because we're all about empowerment through knowledge, but you don't have to necessarily be the expert in every corner of what's necessary to propel your business.
Okay. We're basically pretty much at the end of the show, ladies. I have one question. Wow. That whole hour just flew by.
That was fast.
Exactly. I warned you guys it was going to be fast, but this has honestly been one of the fastest shows time-wise with content, excellent conversation as ever. I have one question for each of you ladies, just a brief answer, and because I want the audience to actually get your contact information, because both of you offer a plethora of items out there that my audience can use. My one question to you is, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself? What piece of advice would you tell yourself when you're just starting out from you right now?
Remembering the importance of relationship. I think that's really the most important. When I was young and I was running all over the place and running around the world and, doing the thing. And even for my business that I was doing, I was with different photographer, different makeup artists, different hair people, different, stylists every day. So it was really, and we didn't have social media back in my day. So, it's really, really cool to be able to, reconnect with those people that I hadn't seen in 30 years through the power of social media. So remembering the importance, even getting out, coming out of, your schools, your colleges, universities, and as you move on, the importance of relationship and, keeping in touch, staying in touch. I think that really is the one thing that I would really bring home, is that, all of this stuff is great. It's phenomenal. Social media, AI, all the stuff that's happening. It's really an exciting world that we live in. But one of the most exciting things, I believe, is the importance of being in the same room, a hug, a handhold, just that the whole, let's not lose that the fact that we are human beings, and that we need, to be humans.
Nancy, we only have like a minute or so left. How about yourself?
Mine will be real quick. It's just, don't wait for everything to be perfect to go to market. I mean, I think that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with like getting the product or everything perfect, and the time you're waiting to get things perfect, other people launch an MVP that's less than your subpar in your mind. And so I think just really understanding that entrepreneurship requires a lot of iterations, a lot of time, and sometimes just socializing the message is enough to get you started, and you never know who's gonna take interest. So just go for it.
Okay,
Guilty.
awesome. Guilty. Yeah, same here.
It's charged.
We have literally a minute left. How can we get in touch with you, ladies?
So I'll go Kensi Gibson, my clubdebut.com. It's CLUBDEBUT.com, and that has all the information on it. My Instagram for Club Debut is @ClubDebutOfficial, but go to the website and everything is there.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Clarissa?
Clarissa at ClarissaBurt.com. Clarissa, CLARISSA at ClarissaBurt.com. So
Awesome.
Clarissa at ClarissaBurt.com.
Okay, ladies, I can't thank you enough for having a great show with me. Everybody, that is the show for today. I honestly don't know what's going to happen next, because it's going to be hard to figure out who's going to be on after after this show. But until then, get out there, make some relationships, make some partnerships, network, and also, if you're ready to launch something, hit that little button to go. You're not going to know anything until you hit that button. So until next week, have a great weekend, and also a great week.
All right, terrific. Good show, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Everybody,
Awesome.
that was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Oh, absolutely, ladies. I'm going to stop recording right now because I have a question for both of you after my mouse actually stops.